Uqaasaq allataqa tassa uqaasaq atuagaqa allatama nipaa uqaatsima erinaa. The 60s and 70s was where the national feelings of Greenlanders and their pride of being Inuk in Greenland was becoming in, and without that youthful strength and inspiration during that time, I don't think that we could sit here and talk happily about Greenlandic literature. We don't have any chance for our languages to survive if we don't use it ourselves. And it should start from the birth until you die. You have to have a strong element of infrastructure in your country where your language and your culture is placed, and it has to be not only spoken in the legislature, it has to be used in every media, it has to be used in business, so in education. Becoming a Dane or Europeanized or Americanized haven't helped any person at all. In our areas, you have to respect us with the national background we have. Not only ethnic, we are a nation that are placed in our countries, and we have been colonized. And you have to understand that colonization will always destroy the people that are colonized. You cannot change anything without fighting colonialism. Colonialism is also inside you, in your soul, if you don't fight it. So there's no one else in United Nations or whoever that can save your language from dying. It's yourself. It's a mean and inhuman policy not to respect languages that are spoken by the people themselves. If you are going to educate people and you are not using their languages, it doesn't help at all. So that's why Greenland for the last 30 years have been very successful in using our own language in education from birth to death. And it is important to understand that situation. Second, if the Inuit are not working together to have a solution on the writing system, then either of our languages will survive. So it is important that we have a common orthography, and that cooperation through the modern technologies are being used. So writing in West Greenlandic could be easily understood in East Greenlandic, or it could be translated right away into Inupiaq, Alaska language, or Inuktitut. So the Canadian Inuit really need to discuss with us very closely how we do that, and why it should start from the scratch, mainly to teach, to have Inuit speaking teachers in the school, and start not tomorrow but today, and otherwise our language will disappear. It's not a question what kind of feelings you have for one language or the other, but for your own identity, it is important to respect and understand your own identity first. That's very important in a colonialized education system like we have in most North American institutions. It's like that. Greenland have been able to change that, turn it around, because of we are using our rights for self-determination. It is important to understand that political decisions can only be made if you have that right too. Besides the language itself, it's also important to understand that the soul of Inuit is very strong, and we are all in all only 150,000 people. How can 150,000 people have survived so long in such a harsh climatic conditions? Because of our soul, because we have that here coming out of our mouth when we are speaking in our own Inuit language, and the artistic expressions coming out of it are bountiful, and people, the rest of the world needs to be to know a little more about Inuit culture other than the very narrow-minded descriptions, if you can call it, of Inuit. It's not a strange situation at all that people can survive in the harshest climate conditions of all.
That's not strange.
That's not strange. The strange thing is how can the white people survive in our area? Because we help them. Without our help, you cannot survive in these harsh conditions. So please don't tell us what we can, but we can tell you what we can, how we did that, and that would help the rest of the world. If we should do something that creates a new sense of togetherness among Inuit, then I think we should work closer together in education, in language policies, and also in enabling our artistic side of our humanity to have a much more room than it does today. And that way we can survive a lot of crises, in my opinion. I think it only takes a passionate decision to do what is needed for the creation of a writing system that is common and we can all read it. Then I'm sure that the next edition of this book would be much more interesting, and we will be able to be proud and say, well, this is born out of resilience, out of our idea that even small people like us, small nations like us, can surely play games with the big nations as well. And that's the only reason we are here, that we don't want to pay with our culture in order to follow the majority people wishes of what kind of people we should be. It should be our own decision what kind of persons we are, because no one can take away our identity. even you can color your hair and put up false things in your face, but it doesn't change. What is in here is the Inuit soul, and that's the driving force. Without that, there's nothing. Isusunnertusaasaqa tassa qamani ittuttoq torlulaartupnipa isussunnerup erina.